We return to the Mega Driving Club for a look at 1994's Mario Andretti Racing for the Sega Mega Drive. Developed by Stormfront Studios and released in 1994, Mario Andretti Racing is a simulation racing game for the Mega Drive that features 3 racing disciplines. You can take to the track in either IndyCar, stock or sprint racing, and each discipline has its own set of tracks and handling model to differentiate them. The game is licensed and endorsed by former F1 and IndyCar driver Mario Andretti, who is also credited as providing the racing strategy to the development team. It's an ambitious little racing game for the Mega Drive that offers up a wealth of gameplay options like a single race mode, circuit mode, career mode, as well as split-screen multiplayer and numerous camera angles to choose from, a real rarity for a Mega Drive racing game. You can also customise the colour and number assigned to your car, which adds a nice little personal touch to the proceedings. Being a simulation racer, the game's IndyCar and stock racing disciplines also require you to pit when your tyres get too worn down or you run low on fuel. Bad tyres also affect handling, with the car being more prone to spin out if you corner too hard. It's an impressive setup that is clearly trying its best to offer players a deep and rewarding experience if you take the time to master its controls. But unfortunately, these same controls are bizarrely inconsistent, making it quite frustrating to play. Cornering is where things really fall down. You are always required to brake in order to make it through the turns successfully. However, braking too hard can lock your brakes and bring your car to a complete halt, and it's really inconsistent as to why this happens. Sure, running off the track or colliding with other drivers or obstacles will bring about a massive time loss, but just braking too hard into the corners? The game wants you to let off the throttle and dab the brake, but it feels ludicrously unnatural in practice, and you often just end up drifting too wide and colliding with the roadside objects. Stock car racing fares a little better in that you basically just have to keep a good racing line, slipstream other drivers, and feather the brake in corners to maintain a good position. But the handling model for IndyCar racing is completely different and really punishes you for braking too hard. Then there's the off-road sprint racing, which makes even less sense. Your car will always want to drift in the corners due to the low grip inherent with this discipline, but braking to stop the drift also causes you to lose too much speed. I could not figure out how to maintain good speed without spinning into corners in the sprint racing, and I was punished once again for even considering braking. The other racers just didn't seem to suffer from the same issues as me, as they charged off into the distance and never spun out in the corners. It's absolutely maddening. And there's the biggest problem with Mario Andretti Racing. It doesn't have consistent mechanics to overcome the rival AI. They just don't play by the same rules as you do. They are faster and don't get punished for braking in the same way at all, and as a result you don't want to persevere. It's such a shame because there's so much game here, and with the 3 different disciplines to race in, it should have been a varied and moreish experience, but it's simply too inconsistent for its own good. It's also a bit lacking in the visual department. It runs at quite a low frame rate, there's a real lack of trackside scenery making tracks feel empty and featureless, and there's no changes in elevation to add a little more variety to the presentation. If you have the patience to wrestle with this game's controls and find a way to consistently maintain a top speed without spinning out or coming to a complete stop by braking too aggressively, then there might be some satisfying racing action in here. But with the game's own mechanics feeling so massively inconsistent, it requires a lot of perseverance that could simply be applied to a much better racing game.